Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5
of Civ 6
as Arabia.
Let's get started.
So in the last episode, I was just building my cities, buying my builders, and lo and behold, the Ottomans were building Meenakshi Temple behind my back.
Wow.
Classic Ottomans, my arch nemesis in this playthrough. I really want Meenakshi Temple, let me tell you why. You get 2 gurus, they are 30% cheaper to purchase, and you get +5 theological combat and +1 movement. That is really crucial in any religious victory. Not that I know, I don't think I've ever won a religious victory,
Okay.
but from what I've seen, very crucial.
Okay.
So what I need to do in this episode is probably found my religion as soon as possible, chop it out faster than the Ottomans can get it, maybe get some other ones like Mahabodhi Temple, Hagia Sophia, and the one that gives you warrior monks. I think those are the main religious wonders. So I think we're going to go for wonder building. And I think we're also going to try to get Alhambra.
Okay, let's keep it topical.
I think I'll get it out of Hatim because there's really no good campai or holy sites to get. So I'm going to have to build an encampment next to a hill, and then we can get the Alhambra.
Okay, sounds good.
The last we were speaking, we were sort of transitioning to the Fatimids, right?
We were transitioning to the successor dynasties, to the Abbasids. Now the Abbasids continue for quite a long time, but their actual political power really decreases. So after a while, they're really figureheads, religious figures, but not really politically very powerful. So what you have are these successor dynasties that are carving up the different aspects of the Abbasid Empire. You have the Buyids, the Samanids in Khorasan, and in North Africa, you have the Fatimids.
And the Fatimids are Shia, and so are the Buyids, right?
Yeah, the Fatimids are Shia. They're Ismaili, which is a sect of Shiism.
Wait, I can go through the portal now.
You can go through the portal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I had Sinbad. Wow, I did not do a good job looking around before we started.
But yeah, the Fatimids start out actually in the area that is now Tunisia. It's a little bit farther from what their later power center will be, which is in Egypt. And they gradually move across North Africa and they capture Egypt. Their heyday is really 900s, 1000. It's during this time period that Cairo really develops as a city.
Right, so do you want to speak a little bit more about Cairo?
Sure. Now, I've never been to Cairo. We're hoping to go to Cairo this year or next year.
Yeah, if we go to Cairo or Egypt, we get like 4 wonders off our list, right?
Yeah.
What are the 4?
There's the pyramids, obviously. There is, in Alexandria, they have the library and the lighthouse.
Which, may not still be there.
Yeah, well, they have a replacement library.
Right.
We're not exactly sure what happened to it, but it was supposedly burnt down. They have a new library that was built in the 1970s, I think, 70s or 80s. And then there's a couple of natural wonders around there, too.
Thinking, should I buy a settler, go up north and get that good campus, or should I buy a settler and go to the spices and get that luxury? I'm not sure if either is really worth it. I do want to save my faith for maybe recalling Hercules, so I think maybe I will just buy a settler and go towards the +5 campus.
Okay.
Hopefully you all agree with that decision. Next turn I get my holy site, so then we'll start with Meenakshi Temple. I really hope we get it. It's like crucial. Oh wait, can I go in? Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
Let's see where we end up.
Nice. Nice, not too far.
Checking out the Arctic.
Yeah, we get some tribal huts.
Ooh, nice.
So great library's gone, hanging gardens. Let's see, how's
It's
the
looking
Ottomans?
Pretty done, right?
No.
Okay.
Like, this is not a great production city, so I think might be okay.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
we'll see. But people might be surprised because the city that we talk about when we talk about Cairo is actually quite a new city. It's only really in its contemporary form about 1,000 years old, which in the Middle East is a very new city. But it is built on a succession of settlements that are very old. So there was a city there in classical times called Babylon, but it was Babylon on the Nile, and it was abandoned. Under, I believe, Umar, Egypt is captured. The commander of the garrison there, Amr, builds a encampment called Fustat, which just means tent. And that was a kind of barrack city for the army. But it was on the Nile, kind of facing where Guise is. It actually developed as quite a significant city. But Cairo itself is actually to the north of Fustat. It's actually quite a bit distance away. And it's really in the Fatimid period that Cairo develops as this metropolis that we know it today.
Yeah, I think here I'm going to, I think take out settler production. I'm really going to be focusing on the wonders now and just buying my settlers. And I'm going to keep in Diplomatic League in case we meet any more city-states. Like we just met Venice, and because of Diplomatic League, we got the envoys.
Ooh, nice.
And I really need to do something about the housing in Damietta, so let me just...
It's getting crowded.
Maybe, yes, I'm going to buy a market here and then buy a trader, although I don't want to trade for food. Has to be something I can do. I guess I could just like build farms, but there's no good farm triangle. And so what are some of the monuments and mosques in Cairo? I just taught you this before we started, so you can talk about it.
Well, we have several monuments and mosques. So the Islamic city of Cairo is actually very developed by Saladin and by the Mamluks after him. But we have a lot of monuments and mosques from Fatimid period Cairo as well. Yeah, we talked about Al-Azhar.
Which is also a mosque.
Also a mosque.
A madrasa and a mosque.
Yeah, and I think nowadays more known as a university, a madrasa. But at that time, there was a mosque building mostly. Then there are some famous mosques. The Al-Hakim Mosque. No, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Al-Hakim, yes.
Okay. And the Al-Akmar Mosque.
Yeah, the Al-Akmar Mosque, definitely one of my favorites, because it has a really ingenious solution to a problem, which is Qibla, which is the wall you pray towards, which faces Mecca, so everyone is facing the right way when they pray in a mosque, was off kilter from the street. So in order to have the mosque facade face the street, they sort of created this entry portal that's a little bit like bent, so that when you enter the courtyard, you're actually going through a bend. And that way you have the grand entrance and you have still the Qibla wall facing the right way.
Wow, very interesting.
And we had 3 great questions from one of our viewers, Pawsy. Shout out to Pawsy.
Go Pawsy.
Yes, and the first one is about women and power.
Yeah, and the Fatimids are actually a great period to talk about this because firstly, they're of course named after Fatima, who was the daughter of the Prophet and the spouse of Ali. And they kind of claim that line of descent, so their authority comes from that line of descent. But they're also characterized by a very important female ruler, Sitt al-Mulk, who is this is actually a title, so in Ottoman studies, we usually use the proper names of people, but in Arabic and Persian studies, it's more common to use the titles.
So like Salahuddin is
an honorific.
Yes, it is not his name.
Yeah.
What just died? Oh my golly. I hate this. All my boats are dying. Great.
Wow. But she is a really important figure because she comes after one of the Fatimid Caliph sultans, Al-Hakim, who is a very important figure in the Ismaili tradition, in the Druze tradition. He was quite a controversial figure at the time. He was eventually assassinated, and she took control of the state and really had to reestablish order and reestablish connections that during the reign of Al-Hakim had been broken. So she's a very important figure.
Yeah, and so I guess the next question is about universal empires, but before we can answer that, we should discuss how they conceptualized state.
Yeah, and the Fatimids are quite interesting. I think one of the things that my advisor talks about in his book on Shi'ism is that Shi'ism has a kind of relationship to the state that's a little bit awkward at times because Shi'ism is supposed to be a religion of protest, a religion of against oppression and injustice. For the Fatimids, who are a kind of messianic Ismaili dynasty, how do you reconcile those roles? It was quite difficult, actually. One of the characteristics of the Fatimids was that they believed that the ruler of the state should be this kind of perfect person.
Oh God, that was the great bath. Okay, we're still good. I feel like I really need to get going, but in one turn, I promise.
Okay. Should be this kind of unimpeachable person. Generally in the Shi'i tradition, the descendants of Ali, the Imams, are considered to have a kind of particular quality and charisma about them, which gives them a closer connection to the divine. So the hope was that by having these rulers as the rulers of the state, you would end up with a just state. And beyond this, Egypt, although I think by that time was not majority Christian, still had a massive Christian population, as it does today. Because of that, it was also a very cosmopolitan situation, and so the kind of homogenizing tactics were totally untenable in that context.
Right, and so would be the concept of a universal empire.
Right. I think Universal Empire really comes from sort of the inheritance of Rome, I think. And it's really not until, I would say, after the Ottomans that there's really that sense of, the Mughals, the Safavids, the Habsburgs, and the Ottomans as being universal empires.
Yeah, it's maybe more of an early modern understanding of how empire works.
Mm-hmm.
The Fatimids were very much aware of their scope and what they were able to achieve. So they had some vassal states, right?
Yeah.
Tributaries, right?
Like, some tributaries, including Sicily. This is actually a very interesting story. Sicily was controlled by the Byzantines. Eventually, one of the generals in Sicily is kind of disgruntled. So he says, I'm going to rebel and I'm going to ask for support from North Africa. So he does that, and then the North African armies immediately kill him. But then decide to take over the island themselves.
Right.
And this is quite a long process. It's not a very quick invasion. Over time, Sicily becomes a Muslim island. It is a tributary of the Fatimid state, but it has its own independent sort of policies and culture, and a real kind of intermixture of Italian, Byzantine, and Arabic culture. Mm-hmm. In 1071, the Normans, who are Vikings, come down into the Mediterranean, and they take control of Sicily. So now you're adding in this kind of Viking, French, Muslim, Byzantine, Italian culture. It's all getting mixed up in Sicily. You have this extremely quite cosmopolitan court culture where the Christians speak Arabic and the Muslims speak Italian, and all these patronage of map makers and artisans and an artistic style that's half Byzantine, half Arabic, half Norman, right? So it's a very interesting context.
Yeah, and you can also see that in the architecture of the time. It's very much this Mediterranean, like Northern African Mediterranean style of architecture. I have finally reached the time where I'm going to found my religion.
Okay. So Islam has already been founded.
Yes. So what are we going to do? I think I just have to go through the motions here. Can I please found my religion?
Please.
Please.
Come on.
It's for the content, please. Wait. I'm so dumb. I have to actually press the button.
Okay.
I'm going to found my religion. So let's see. We are going to choose.
Now what should we choose?
So Islam gone.
It's gone.
By my nemesis, the Ottomans. I am going after them first.
Yes.
I think the lion is probably the most.
Lion of Ali, yeah.
It's...
We're the Fatimids, right? We can be the...
Yes, we are the Fatimids right now.
Yes.
So this is... Don't come at me, any other historians. This works.
Okay.
And for religion name, again, Islam is gone.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Salman, I like him.
Now, where does that come from?
It is a meme. Someone on Twitter one day asked, why do Muslims go up to each other and say Salman alaikum? But I think they just misheard Salam alaikum, which means like, well, hello,
peace upon you, but just hello,
just
right?
Hello. So Salman alaikum, and I think it works because we're Saladin and we're going against Suleiman.
It works.
And okay, what are we gonna pick here? Work ethic might help with production, but it's gonna be like 4 production versus 2, maybe up to 6 gold. This is a tough one. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I am producing world wonders.
That's
All
true.
world wonders provide 4 faith. I think maybe we can go for that. That's gonna be like 8.
Okay.
12 faith is kind of not worth it.
It's a long-term project too.
Yeah, 12 faith or production.
Okay.
I guess I'll just go for the production.
Okay, let's get that Shiite work ethic.
Yeah, and then here, I think eventually I want to get culture, world church. But to get there, I think it's better to get the 30% discount on holy units. So this is going to be our religion for now.
Okay.
Not the greatest, but I have to do it.
Okay.
And it's like the worst time ever because I have the freaking Ottoman missionaries coming at me here. Yeah. Okay, so let's go for Meenakshi Temple here.
Okay.
And we can chop right away. So let's see how far we can get here. 17 turns.
How far are they?
They're not doing. They're so far behind.
Okay.
We're more far behind, but
Yeah.
I hope we can defend our religion. That's the only thing I want.
It looks like they left.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
it
good.
looks like they left. That's good.
So one thing that's interesting about the mixture of cultures and mixtures of religions in Cairo at this time is that we have a very good record actually of it, because in Fustat, right, in the old city of Cairo, there was a synagogue, the main synagogue of the city. And one of the practices is that a document that has the name of God on it should not just be carelessly thrown in the trash, right? So there is a space in the synagogue called the Guise where those documents are just preserved. They're just left in there to decompose naturally. Well, over time, millions and millions of documents were put into this chamber. And it was in the 19th century that people decided to, Europeans, get shovels and dig out the documents and then transport them back to libraries. Their archives. Many of them were retained in the Guise and were retained by Jewish scholars. So these are a fascinating record into life in Cairo from the Fatimid period all the way until the Ottoman period. And there's a really interesting book about it by Amitav Ghosh called In an Antique Land. It's not just about Cairo, it's also about rural Egypt. But I really recommend it if you're interested in that aspect of things.
Yeah, and we'll link the book below.
Yeah, for sure.
What are we up to here? Getting some more gold. I have so much gold. I don't know what to do. I don't want to waste it on things I don't need, but maybe some more builders. And the interesting thing about Sicily is that maybe not a lot of people know about the relationship between the sort of Fatimids and the Islamic civilizations with border territories and regions, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's 3 areas of very pronounced contact. Sicily is one. Anatolia is another one. I think everyone knows. And
Thanks to us.
Thanks to us. And we have our alliance with the Byzantines now. So.
Yeah.
And the other one,
and let's get another alliance here.
which is very famous in this time period, is Spain, of course.
Yeah, and that was the third question.
We were just in Spain, actually. Maybe we can put a photo here.
Maybe of Cordoba, another Umayyad this way, I think. Another Umayyad city.
And it's interesting thinking about it in terms of the World Cup right now, because
Right.
we have Morocco just beat both Portugal and Spain and is on their way, hopefully, to beating France. We'll see. It's interesting because it's framed, I think, in terms of like Africa versus Europe or Arab world versus Iberia.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions right now about what is Morocco? Is it an African country? Is it not? And I think this really goes to show that these definitions are fluid. I mean, we have the continent, but when we say it, we really are signaling to something else, to another assumption we have.
Yeah, I think when we look at the period of Al-Andalus, right, of Moorish Spain, you can see how it's not just this kind of hard distinction between, here's the Islamic world, here's the Christian world, right? Toledo is one in which you have so many overlapping layers of Jewish history, Christian history, Muslim history, Arabic history, right? On one hand, there's the story of cosmopolitanism. There's also the story of violence. Those two go hand in hand. They're not separate. There's, movements back and forth. Scholars go back and forth. Ideas go back and forth. Beyond that, as I think they mentioned in the comments, El Cid campaign of Age of Empires 2.
I think El Cid is also in this game, right?
Yeah, it's a great general, I think. Yeah, his name is El Said, but we say El Cid.
Maybe we can try to get him with our 0
Great general points.
Oh wait, I was supposed to make an encampment. I forgot. Okay, let me do that now.
Yeah, and I think that actually is a really good campaign because it goes in between, shows how, a figure like him could be both renowned by both sides, but also switch in between both sides, play them off, try to establish his own state in Valencia. And so really showing how, it's a zone of negotiation.
The Umayyads start off in Spain, but then there's other principalities, right?
Yes, that's right. So the Umayyads are the original dynasty of Al-Andalus, or they take over from the Arab armies that were already present. They are defeated after some rebellions.
We did it.
We got it?
Yeah, never doubted it. I got it.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you to the trees that sacrificed themselves for these chops.
Looks nice.
But
Looks
totally
nice.
worth it. Yeah. And look, we still have our religion.
Good.
Yeah. I think maybe we should start buying just a couple of apostles.
I think that's a good idea.
Just to, be just a little bit safer.
But so the Umayyad dynasty collapses. We have a city-state era in Andalusia with very small principalities. We also have an invasion from Morocco, which pushes the Spanish the Christian Spanish all the way back up to the north, and then we have, again, movements back and forth. Eventually, there's a very slow process by which eventually the only sort of remaining area is Granada of Islamic Spain, but that remaining area lasts for a very long time. So in Granada, you have, I mean, as we saw, very interesting Moorish culture that continues.
I am going to try to get Forbidden City, I think. Next turn, I'm going to move Magnus for the Mahabodhi Temple.
Okay. So the Fatimid period coincides with what I think for the general public is kind of the most famous event of this time period, which is the Crusades. On one hand, it's difficult to say the Crusades are not important, because of course they are important.
Where are you going with this?
Well, I'm going with this in the sense that for the history of the Islamic world, it's like a dent in the car, right? It's annoying, but it's not like catastrophic. For Arabic chronicles of the time, the catastrophic event is the Mongols, right? They are the actual threats. Yeah. The Crusaders are kind of just these annoying raiders who like capture Jerusalem but then just lose it very quickly, right? So they're kind of annoying, but not a fatal threat. But that isn't to say that it's unimportant, right? Because of course it both reflects in the way that we talk about Palestine, Syria today, and also it reflects in the way that Saladin, for example, as a kind of pan-Arab figure, even though, of course, he's also Kurdish, as this kind of figure of pan-Islamic sentiment is developed. Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to say the Crusades is like a really serious event, it's really for the Byzantines. It's a very serious event.
Right.
You're right. For the Byzantines, it's catastrophic.
Right. So do you want to talk about what happens with the Byzantines?
Yeah, I mean, people might know this, but the Fourth Crusade takes a left turn and just sacks Byzantium, sacks Constantinople, and causes the near collapse of the Byzantine Empire, even though the express purpose of the crusade was to help the Byzantine Empire.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a betrayal there, right?
Yeah, the Venetians needed some payment, and the Crusaders couldn't pay, so they said, hey, well, there's a city over there. Go take a look.
Yeah, and one of the interesting comments we got, is it normal for Vatican City to align with a Muslim empire? Not the Vatican, right? They create sort of holy order against the Ottomans, but yeah. It's very common for sort of a city-state like Venice to align with the Muslim empire, right?
Yeah, I mean, France was also the ally of the Ottomans for quite a long time. So it wasn't like this constant battle between Europe and the Ottomans. There was a lot of...
Or Europe and Islamic empires.
Or right? Europe, oh, yeah, for sure.
Or Christians and Muslims.
Yeah, definitely. Although the Vatican is a special case, probably. There actually was an attempt at an alliance between the Crusader states and the Mongols against Saladin and the Mamluks.
So we found La Venta here, and not a first meet, but I think we're going to at least get up to 3 with them. Oh, I can't.
Okay.
Never mind.
So the Crusades begin with the call to arms by Pope Urban II. This goes way beyond his expectations. All of a sudden, there's these huge uprisings of peasants and local preachers and then princes and barons all going on crusade. The peasant crusade does not go very well. They spend most of their time just attacking Jewish people in Germany, but eventually they get to Anatolia, and then they're just immediately wiped out by the Seljuks. But the Prince's Crusade, which was what the main body of the crusading force was called, was actually quite successful in their aims. The Byzantine Emperor ferries them across, they fight with the Turkish armies and actually defeat them, and they gradually march across, establish a Crusader state all along the Levantine coast, so in Edessa, Antioch, all the way to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, they massacre everyone in the city, which provokes a lot of controversy. Right. Very quickly, the Kingdom of Jerusalem and the kind of Levantine French aristocracy that develops gets quite accustomed and acclimatized to the local culture. So there's actually quite a bit of disconnect oftentimes that we read in the sources between fresh arrivals from France or England who come to the Kingdom of Jerusalem expecting exactly the kind of society that they left. And then finding out that, oh, actually, by virtue of having to rule over this multi-confessional population, that the Kingdom of Jerusalem cannot actually be this hard, rigid, fanatical state, right? It has to be quite an adaptable state.
How come every time you say Kingdom of Jerusalem, I think of Kingdom of Heaven?
Yeah, well, that's movie. What it was about. It's about Saladin. Actually, I think that movie's pretty good. They had an extended cut.
You think so?
Yeah, they had an extended cut where they really added on a lot of the detail that was missing. They changed a lot of things, but
Okay, finally we can change the World Congress from the Ottomans having +10 combat strength on their religious units. So I think we're getting very close to starting our religious combat, right?
okay, nice.
And I think with the conversation, we're getting really close to Saladin's life.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we're going to leave it here. I'm not going to change my policy. I'm going to think about it.
Okay.
And next time we'll start speaking about Saladin and the Crusades.
And his historical significance for our time.
So please remember to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have any questions about history that we can maybe answer for you or look up if we don't know it.
All right.
Thanks everyone.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.